começar, André? Ok. So, Ildikó, I will give some words and invite you to come. Boa tarde. Welcome, everybody. There is an international audience, so welcome. Thank you for being with us. I will give you just a few words about our guest, Ildikó Enyedi. Maybe the most important filmmaker in Hungary in our times. Thank you, Ildikó Enyedi, for being with us and for accepting being in Porto and Lisbon for this double bill in Portugal for Multiplex and Great Artisan Campus. Ildikó Enyedi, it's a filmmaker with a wonderful corpus of films, and maybe some of you watched this morning On Body and Soul, the film that won the Golden Prize in Festival of Berlin, and the Golden Bear, to be exactly. And after this masterclass, at 4:30, we'll have the screening of the first fiction of and long film of Ildikó Enyedi, that is My 20th Century. It's a beautiful, beautiful film on black and white, a deep black and white film. It's please stay because it's a pearl of European cinema. So now I will finish here, and the word is Ildikó Enyedi, e uma salva de palmas para a nossa convidada. Thank you.
So I don't know how many of you have seen On Body and Soul. Okay. Thank you. Actually, I saw it because it was projected this morning. Do we need this?
Yes, we are recording.
Okay. To make a sort of case study of the film, but then I will take in consideration that many haven't seen the film. And through the case study, through the steps of creation, production, post-production, etc., we can share some very practical issues. And perhaps if you don't mind, let's, as we go through the teams each time, after each team, just open the floor and let's have some questions, practical questions. You are future filmmakers, okay? Let's advance like this and not have a lecture and questions at the end, okay? So, this is a film I made 7 years ago, Body and Soul, from a really, really tiny budget. And I write all my scripts, so somehow I'm responsible from idea until the end for the film. I had to make lots of decisions how to work without compromises, but fit in the budget. And I would speak about some of these issues, some of the choices I made, because I think it's quite important. You never meet a filmmaker who says, yeah, I have enough money. But for European auteur films, that is the case, especially. So somehow to make a light backpack is very important. It's when you start a film, it's a bit like to go to the North Pole. halfway you can't turn back and say, oh shit, I forgot something. And if you have too much on your back, then it will slow you down and you can even die of it. So it is really important, and those, I think, who have seen the film can say that it's a good example of boiling down everything just to the minimum. In other films, it is less visible because the film, what you will see if you stay in the afternoon, is very, very different. It's a sort of mosaic, not a straight storyline like this one, like Body and Soul. Full of improvisation. Nevertheless, the same sort of work, boiling down to the essence and to be really obsessioned and very sure to get what you really need, and just forget about what you don't need so much. So in the case of my 20th century, which was my first feature film, in the backpack, there was the main thing was light. So the story came really as the last resort, and I made all the sacrifices and all the choices to be able to work with light the most expressive way. So we shot in 35, black and white. It wasn't easy, but we asked Kodak to make for us a special negative, which was not so sensitive, which was more similar to the negatives of the 1930s or 50s, with which you could have beautiful direct lighting. You could sculpt with light, and you can speak about light and shadow without being explicit. So we used very old-fashioned, huge carbon lamps, and somehow the whole production was circling around this theme. And of course, we had sets, we had extras, we had a lot. But I knew if we had a problem, not enough money, I tore out dialogues or complete locations, but I never made a compromise on lighting equipment. And we were very, very focused, very well prepared with my cinematographer, because we knew that we have just a certain batch of negatives. Actually, in Hamburg, on the last shooting day, we really made just one shot of everything, because we had just the last three rolls of negative, and we knew that we couldn't order anymore. So that's the film, what you can see this afternoon. Any of you who have seen the film on Body and Soul have any idea what sort of backpack we prepared for that film? You can see that it was a very, very simple, very transparent film. One more time. How many of you have seen it? Yeah, a bit less than the half. Okay. I explain in another way. I worked with a cinematographer, a wonderful, wonderful cinematographer. For this film, he won in Torun at Camera Image the main prize. I think he merited it. And it was the first time we worked together, and I told him, I'm not interested in style. We want to transmit a very, very strong feeling. And I gave him one example, one film, In the Mood for Love of Wong Kar-wai. But of those who have seen the film know that in the visuals, in the style, in the thematic, nothing really is connected to In the Mood for Love. There is one thing which is similar, that the surface is very simple, very humble. It is a story of two slaughterhouse workers. But underneath the surface, there is a whole universe of passion, of fire, of longing, of desire, of fears. When I started to write the film, the starting point for me was this feeling. I had the feeling that every human being, you think that it's just you, but actually all of us, we are full of these passionate and turbulent and wild feelings, and there are so few tools to really open up towards the other and show it. So it remains inside, and quite often we ourselves, we forget about it, or we are frightened of it. So actually it was this feeling, a very humble surface, a very simple, introverted surface where nearly nothing happens, or very everyday things happen, and underneath this huge ocean of emotions. So I told to my cinematographer, this is what we are aiming for. So we don't want to tell a story or explain something or show something. We want somehow encourage the spectator to get closer to this sort of inner universe of themselves. And I speak a bit about the two protagonists to make sense of this little case study for those who haven't seen the film. The female protagonist can be called autistic or having Asperger's syndrome, but during the preparation, I never ever contacted and consulted a psychologist about it. I didn't want to approach her name is Maria, through through a so-called illness. This is just a very sensitive person who has to defend herself, and that's why she's closed. The other worker, the other protagonist, the male protagonist, he's much older. Visibly, he had a stroke. He has one arm just hanging, but nothing is explained in the film why, what happened. And he had a life. He had a lots of meeting with other people. He understands and knows that love can hurt, that being totally open towards another human being can be super dangerous. And that's why he's closed. So you have two closed people as a starting point, and you wish them to open up. So I put them, when I wrote the script, in a situation where they just can't ignore the other person. They are just forced to step forward or to react. And from that moment, I just followed them and just wrote down what these two very differently fragile and differently closed people were doing. What a reaction comes to a certain reaction, and that's how the story was built. And the situation I chose, and I don't know how it came to my mind. Anyway, the situation, what no one can really escape if it happens, that by pure chance they realize that during the night they have the same dream. They are meeting in the form of deers in their dreams. And it's very weird. It's a very realistic film. There is nothing supernatural in it. They are just very puzzled, very perplexed, but they have to do something with that. And from that moment, I followed them. I didn't plan it, but for the sake of those who haven't seen the film, I just show the first 3 minutes of the film, okay? Oh, yeah. Can you, yeah. And then we return to the backpack. Yeah, can you make some darkness? Thank you.
Ha de van temat, leminek.
Gyere le, most az egyszer. Nézd meg, tudni ki kell cserélni. Remélem, hogy sose jössz le. Évek óta nem voltál a vágócsapon. Tudom én is, hogy nem a te dolgod, de mégis itt nem jó.
Szoros kezekkel fogna egy asszonyt, hogy tudja, hogy hol áll.
of the, oh yeah, thank you. Of the, it's echoing. It's normal. Von Kar-wai film, and I gave give two examples for the cinematographer. Who are these two people? Which is their inner world? How they perceive the world? Because we want to get step by step really close to them. And I show Maria. I chose a hyper-realist, one of the wonderful hyper-realist painters, Richard Estes. And perhaps I show one more. Oh, sorry, I chose a really bad one. When I pulled it down, it's, by the way, it's him. So if we watch a hyperrealist painting, for example, this one, it is very impressive. It is very real, but somehow it is not very homey. There is something uncanny in it. The uncanny thing is that in real life, we have the air perspective. Everything what is in the distance is blurred, and also the color is changing because of the air, the layers of air between us and the subject and the distance. So in this world, in a hyperrealistic world, everything is bright and exact and sharp, really sharp. And because it is not our reality, we just feel a sort of uncanniness in our stomach. And this is how Maria feels in the world every day, day and night. So what we decided from our little money is not to find locations for these two protagonists for their apartments, but to build them in studio, which costs more. So we have to spare it somewhere else. So we built two apartments, and these two apartments told a lot about these two people. The shape, the floor plan, the size of the windows, even in which floor they are living. Maria is living on a very high floor, so from her window you see the sky, and you feel the noise of the town from far. We wanted to have this sort of very uncomfortable sharpness in her word. So the choice of the lens, we used a big depth of field, and we needed lots of light. So there, even I hate it, but we used a green screen. We really, in the daylight scene, we hammered with light the apartment. It's very simple and very transparent floor plan, and without any dialogue, any additional background story about her life, any explanation, we could plunge the spectator into her world. This sort of eerie, uncomfortable, always alert and self-defending state as she lived. And for Andrea, that's the name of the male protagonist, I showed someone else for the cinematographer, and then with that we finished the showing of examples, and we just started to build our world. I don't know who knows this amazing New York street photographer, Sol Leiter. He died 2-3 years ago, I think. And I show something of him. So a street photographer cannot control the world around. He's one of those who can tell a lot about how he sees the world, what is his opinion, what is interesting for him, and in which way, just by 2 simple tools, of course, being alert and having the eyes of a good street photographer, is using, he's very special for that, using foreground, middle ground, and background in a very creative way, generally pulling the focus to something what you expect the less. I try to find, yeah, for example, this one. Sorry for not downloading better images. So he creates a world what he cannot control with very, very simple tools of photography, of it's him again. Of choosing where to pull the focus. And by the way, both of them, Richard Estes in a different way, and Sol Leiter in such a very warm and full of life way, is using reflections. Both of them, with these reflections, disorient us about the space we are in. So we created a Sol Leiter sort of apartment for Andrea, for the male protagonist, which was supposed to be also built-in studio on the first floor of a downtown building with a quite complex floor plan. You could see that this guy lived once there with a family, and now he uses this space alone, which is a bit too big for him, and where you can't really have a straight view from one end, one end to the other. And there we didn't use green screen, but background projection. It meant again, it wasn't the cheapest thing to do, but it was worthwhile. We used very, very short depths of field, small depths of field, So when he was sitting at the table, the other end of the table was already, the objects there were already a tiny bit blurred. Because he was lost in layers of past, of past wounds, and he was immersed and lonely in the middle of people, not distant from them. So we had the view of the street from his window. We shot it in several moments of the day. We had wonderful sunrise and sunset, because for both of them, it was really important to control the light, to control what we want to say just by the mood of the image, just by how their space envelops them. Just one more from Soullighter. This is one with reflections. Those who have seen the film know how we played with reflections in key moments. So by creating these two spaces in studio, we told a lot about our protagonists before they even said a word. I heard that you are rather silent people, but how about just opening the floor just about what we spoke about until now, before I continue with casting and working with the actors?
There is a microphone, so we can pass hand on hand the microphone, and you can share your ideas. The ones who saw the film, it would be great to listen to you.
Sorry. Good afternoon. It's not about only this film, although I have only seen on Body and Soul from you several times. But what is your approach about where to place the camera? You point to the camera. Do you do it yourself, or is it in a dialogue with a DP? Or please explain in detail if possible.
Thank you. I worked all along with really wonderful cinematographers. They are good friends and very close allies. So I'm very, very conscious about every detail of their work, but they are also very conscious about every detail of my work. I invite them in it, and we speak about the scenes, and of course we make storyboards. In this case, we really very much made and remade the storyboards. In this film, there are no improvisations, where really every detail counts. So somehow yes, I find it, and perhaps I can show an example. I really find it important what lens to use, where to put the camera, but I'm not a boss. I'm working with a true ally, and somehow it's not just the cinematographer. it's the whole team. If they really deeply understand what we are doing, they can pour their creativity in such a wonderful way in the film. I just tell you one example. For those who haven't seen the film, there is a salt and pepper shaker in this very bare minimalist kitchen of the protagonist. It's a normal tool in the kitchen, and because she is so nervous before interacting or starting a conversation, she plays with the salt and pepper shaker, replays, models a dialogue for later. But okay, this salt and pepper shaker has a definitive dramaturgical function in the film, but actually in Maria's apartment you can't find any object which is not there with a purpose. In Andrew's apartment, it's full of rubbish, full of things he could have thrown out already years ago. Anyway, I used to write a letter to my team, what even the drivers, everyone gets on the first shooting day. And of course, I have a closer team with whom we prepare the whole film, and of course, they know the script. They are much, much, much deeper in what we want to do. But I really, it is really important for me that everyone would be aware of what we are doing. And I remember a day before we shot the kitchen scenes that Imola Lang, a wonderful production designer, I'm working for my last four films. She's discussing with the prop guy. On a table, he prepared salt and pepper shakers for casting. So they were pre-casting for me, the salt and pepper shakers, and I was in the background, and I was just listening the prop guy explaining with passion why it can't be this plastic one, and why it could be glass, but not so fancy, etc. And it wasn't because of the style of the film, the social status of Maria, what sort of environment we have to create. It was because she understood Maria, and wanted to have a meaningful and the right salt and pepper shaker. And I was so deeply touched that it is important for him. And in this film, sometimes you have to make efforts to arrive to that stage with the team or certain team members. In this film, it was a really, really beautiful experience that from very early, everyone was super involved and super deeply understanding. And in this way, also representing the priorities of the film. So I didn't have to be bossy. And I didn't have to explain, because they knew as well as I did. And of course, to return to the cinematographer, everyone is very different, and it's really important to get to know the person, how they function under stress, if they are comfortable with improvising, if not, if yes, in which way, etc. So to learn everyone, first of all, the DP, how he's really getting, how to say, how can he work in an inspired way, and to have to create those conditions where he gets that, and he's not worried about certain things. Shooting is not a very comfortable place. Yes, please.
Hi. My question is more about your latest film, because I haven't seen the one in the morning, the story of my wife, and I believe that it's a film that relies not only on that passion with the team, but a lot, of course, as every film, but particularly in relation with an actor is very close. There's a lot of development in these two people meeting each other, getting to love each other and whatever. And my question is, how do you make that contrast? Because one thing is to pass a passion of a project to a team that, you know, they'll be there every day, they'll working on it from 2 months prior, they'll have all of that connections. But with an actress, as late as I do, that has 1,000 projects, that has all of that starship kind of thing, how can you make sure that it's gonna have that same commitment in a way, or you cannot? I don't know.
You speak about Léa Seydoux for others. Actually, she's a very smart girl, and also her agent. And beside the big budget shiny films, they are very much, and she's very much looking for challenges. And I think it was a great role for her, and she was great in it. And they know that it's their interest to take it seriously for themselves. She was a very, very dedicated and humble person. Actually, our film it was some years ago, 3 years ago, yeah, and overlapped with the last James Bond film. She was in the last 2, and she made them very clear that this film has priority, which was a very generous thing from her. She could do it, we couldn't. So we decided her hair, and they adjusted to it, and we had our schedule, and they adjusted to it. So because she's an artist who wants real challenges. So I'm finishing now a film we spoke about in The Mood for Love with Tony Lang. Same guy. For 1 year, all the producers told he's saying no to everyone. Don't even try. Let's not send the script. They offered me every week other actors, And then finally, I've sent the script on a Friday. The next Wednesday we spoke, and his opening, it was a Zoom call. His opening sentence was, "I want to make this film." So they are just good artists. You seem a bit skeptical.
No, it's not. No, not at all. Like, it's just. I imagine that someone in that situationship, they arrive like, I don't know, on Monday to shoot on Wednesday. You don't have a lot of time to rehearse. You don't have a lot of. They might have read the script. They might have talked with you in Zoom calls or whatever. But there's not. Is there time for a proper introduction in a way?
In the case of Story of My Wife, 3 months before the shooting, we had a session, a table read, and we had a 2 weeks period of rehearsals and all the rest, hair and makeup and costume, etc. But 2 weeks when we rehearsed, and I must say that French actors, they have their theory for it. They hate to rehearse. So it was something she was not used to. This brilliant Dutch actor who comes from theater, for him it was very natural. So again, there two people were, two protagonists were in a situation where they have very different backgrounds. And on Body and Soul, Maria is, although that was her first main role in film, but she's a brilliant theater actress. And I knew from the start that this role I can't make with an amateur. I need a serious actress. Andrea, the male protagonist you have seen briefly, he's an amateur. And there again, we had a long sort of rehearsal period, and actually we can speak about it, the work with the actors. I never rehearsed with them together in the case of On Body and Soul, because they are really, the whole film is about finding the way to each other and the difficulty and the nearly impossibility of it. And also because they have so deeply different tools. The whole toolkit has to be approached differently in the case of an amateur who was a very good theater dramaturg, so he knew great acting. He was a highly sensitive and intelligent man, and knew very well that for him it's not the case that now he will act. He has to find something himself in the situation. And for Maria, by the way, I prepared a clip. I would like to show, if we jump to acting work with actors, because it took me several months to make many casting sessions with brilliant actresses. Some of them returned 2-3 times, and I felt that I don't find the real one, because it was something very rare what I was looking for in Maria is being vulnerable and strong, frighteningly strong. There is a scene with a psychologist in the film where actually the psychologist becomes quite embarrassed by this sort of very, very strong presence of Maria, which doesn't hide her high vulnerability. And actresses were vulnerable or strong, or sometimes this or sometimes that, but to have the same, that there is a person in front of you who is highly vulnerable, but somehow it's stronger than you, it's a very rare thing to find, and nobody could find that. And originally, when I wrote the script, I wrote the role of the psychologist for this actress, for Alexandra Borbély, who played Maria. So she came several times because I gave her the role. She knew about it. She was happy with that, and she came to be a partner for other actresses. And more and more, it came to my mind that I should try her, although she was the total opposite of our Maria. She is a very sexy, high heels, perfect makeup, tight clothes, very dynamic, snappy, wonderfully energetic person. And that's why I thought of her for the psychologist. And I will show you a clip, because after a while I asked her to come and let's try Maria. And then we edited it together with my editor, with herself, because she delivered this role from the other side, from the psychologist side, many times. And in this way, also those who haven't seen the film can have an idea what sort of, let's say, duel happened in the film between this psychologist and this autistic young woman. It is without subtitles. It's in Hungarian. It's even better that you don't understand it. Just look at their face. Look at the body language. Okay? And yes, thank you.
Jöjjön le ide. Néhány kérdést fogok feltenni, rendben? Na, lássuk csak. Első menstruáció időpontja?
1998. november 5.
Operációk?
Nem volt.
Fertőző betegség?
Bárányhimlő.
Mikor?
1990. március 21-től április 7-éig.
Ilyen pontosan tudja.
Megjegyeztem.
Értem. Kicsit szokatlan. Miért jegyezte meg? Volt rá valami különös oka?
Nem volt.
Na jó. Mondja el, mit álmodott ma éjjel. Nem emlékszik rá?
De. Most végig gondolom, hogy hogyan lehetne elmondani. Mindjárt a végére érek.
Jó, persze.
Doktornő,
Igen?
kicsit könnyebb lenne, hogyha nem lenne ez a zaj.
Milyen zaj? Elnézést. Igaza van. Nem szép tőlem. Nehéz napom volt ma. Most már igazán figyelek, mondja az álmát.
So this was the first try, and I told her, "You are not there yet, but you will." What was the main challenge for her was to erase from her eyes all those experiences another person, a not so introverted person, not an autistic person can have from teenage years and as a young woman. And I think what she did is exceptional. She won Best European Actress at the European Film Awards. I think she merited it. And in her case, that was, for example, the rehearsals were not verbal. We just spent afternoons together, and for example, she was trying to find how to move, how to walk. And I gave her shoes she never ever would put on her feet. Or she had trainers or the high heels, as I said. One is a super relaxed thing, the other is a super showy with the outside we're communicating shoes. So if you have seen the beginning of the film, she has a very clumsy, very low heel shoes. So she walked around. We were together in the office when everyone went home. And I saw a person just like, I think it was like after the moon landing to try to walk in another universe. And with each actor, actress, you have to find how they can get to that wonderful, wonderful secret, what they have, how they can get close to it. So I just let it happen, but for that I have to understand how they function. It's a very nice process, and I'm really happy that with all of my actors, we had time for that, and we never had to spare. Tony Leung was preparing for the role 5 months, so it was his choice to read and prepare. So it's they are serious people, so they take themselves seriously, so they take the job they are doing seriously. Yes, please.
Thank you. I wanted to come back to something you said earlier about the way you focus really on the two protagonists and the way they experience the world and the way they perceive the world, and you build those two apartments for them. And I was interested in how that relates to your choices in the sound design of the film, especially moments of silence. Yeah, I'm curious about that.
Thank you for the question. because for example, in the case of Body and Soul, I speak about something which would seem a very practical thing, dialogue editing, which seems to be boring. It's a bit cleaning, filtering, etc. And we had to hurry. I worked with a wonderful sound designer, wonderful sound team, but we thought, okay, we just give the job of the dialogue editing to another company. They were okay, but it turned out they made too many American films, and they overcleaned the dialogues, and it was such a disaster. It was a different film, and I swear to you, it can destroy a film. It can modify the whole meaning of the film if the dialogue doesn't have that sort of natural breath. And I try to show you, because of course we redone the whole thing, so we paid double from our teeny tiny money, but we knew that we have to. And I will I try to find a scene and no, it will take too much time. There is a scene when Maria and Andrea, so they are sitting at the canteen. There are many repetitive events in this work schedule and the home schedule. So they are speaking. It's already when they realize that they have the same dream, and they had a very strong experience in the night. They shared in this shared dream, and now they are sitting there in the middle of the crowd. It's quite silent, and they will start to speak about this. It's awkward because it was somehow intimate in the night, and now they are just sitting in the canteen, and of course when we are shooting, just to have the dialogue clear, the extras, they are not doing any noise, and they are just faking to speak to have the right dialogue. And somewhere in the room, someone just moved the spoon, and it made a noise. It's a bit tiny noise. And Alexandra is a very disciplined actress. You can see only in the pupils of her eyes the reaction to it. And it became a very special moment, especially for her, for her character. Of course, these guys, they erased the noise, because for them it was noise. They were not in the film. So, yeah, that's about, and of course here the very austere and very minimalist sound design was very, very important. And I just tell you one little anecdote. When there is a very tough scene at the end, around the end of the film, and in the room, it's a suicide scene. In the room, the telephone starts to ring, and we had to create a ringtone. And Maria she didn't have a phone. She bought a phone to be able to call this guy. And they looked at her, okay, she's blonde, she's a woman, here's this pink telephone. So she had an object. It was such a strange object for her that she didn't even say anything, I don't want this, I want another one. So we created with the sound designer a very shitty, girly, trashy ringtone. And I remember even my editor was a bit afraid in this dramatic moment to use this ringtone. But somehow, for me, it was, during the whole film, very important that the humor wouldn't push our out from the depths, but get us closer. So I thought we have to do everything in this scene to merit, let's say, to use this ringtone. So it was a beautiful cooperation with the sound designer. And yes, please.
Thank you. I had a question about the movie itself. I didn't get the mystery, like the flask mystery. I don't know why that happened at all. Can you explain it, please?
Why happened the what?
The flask because they found out it was like the friend of the doctor. Not the doctor, the economist. He had the flask, no? But it has no correlation with the dreams, right?
I'm sorry.
Okay. So there was a whole mystery because they never found out. I don't want to like spoil everything, but they.
I think we spoiled already everything.
Yeah. I'm sorry. But I wanted to know what was the purpose of the mystery.
The mystery.
Because they didn't know at first who did it.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for the question. The thing is, for those, okay,
Yeah,
I try
I'm
to.
sorry.
Yeah, I can explain, even for those who haven't seen the film. So this film has two protagonists, but around them, I spent with the teeny tiny roles, the secondary or even not secondary roles, as much time when I wrote them as with them. Somehow I wrote the script really instinctively, very quickly, in a bit more than 2 weeks, the first version. And then I was working on these secondary characters a lot. And I chose very good actors for them, because if you have a short screen time, you really need the best. And somehow I wanted to raise suspicion or even prejudice towards each person, and then look behind a bit the same way as with Maria. At the beginning, you see just a weird woman. I hope we will have time to speak a bit about the hair and makeup, because there again, I think there was a very sensitive work. And Okay, there's a whole really big question, the slaughterhouse, how we deal with that, how we deal with the everyday cruelty, what we didn't touch yet. Nevertheless, there is a new worker who seems to be a sexist asshole, who has a real instability. So this head of the slaughterhouse is not very happy to get him in the team, because it's a very high stress environment, a slaughterhouse, and who is not really stable as a response can become really cruel. And when it was in the script before I started to visit the different slaughterhouses, and finally I chose one which was built and made function by a self-made guy, and he word by word said what was already in the script. If you don't feel empathy for these animals, he used more simple words, you can't work here. You have to like them. It's a very, very rare location in our world, which is very close to those archaic forces which underneath the culture, the nicely arranged life, are dominating us and defining us. Somehow it's a place of truth. And in the film, we look this guy, we hate him, we despise him, we think, really, yeah, he's a troublemaker, he's an asshole. And then we realize it wasn't him who committed something very weird. It was someone else. That's also an interesting subplot, why that person did that. And you just realize that this guy was just longing for acceptance. He wanted to be liked, and he was like little children sometimes. They are just fooling around to be accepted, to be liked. And so many times when on the surface we see someone really pain in the ass, that's just a very, very clumsy way of showing the longing for connection, of longing for being accepted. And that is a really important topic of the film. And I did many work to hide it, not to be teaching it, you know. Also, the other guy who is finally turns out to be, you can understand him, that he's suffering of neglect from his wife, etc. So somehow we are so easy to judge the other, and actually all of us, we are just living in our little hell, or little universe which is full of very, very tough challenges. And another person, what I wanted to show from Andrea is to be able to say, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, to really apologize. It's so rare and it's so powerful. So as this film is about communication and the difficulty of it, these tiny subplots have, for me, a really important role without stealing the limelight from the protagonist. And I hope that it was understandable also for those who haven't seen the film. Yes, please.
Good afternoon. I have a question in regards of the first scene that we watched with the deers in the forest.
Yeah.
I read that they were choreographed, so they're real, and there was a certain training. How do you balance, because oftentimes we source to nature to show the real world in a sense. How were you able to balance not to anthropomorphize the animals? How was also the process of working with the deers in order to metaphorically portray something that comes afterwards?
Well, in this case, it's their dream, and they were shamelessly and fully anthropomorphized, absolutely. And to getting back to practical things, there again, very consciously, we use the tools of cinema, the language of cinema, what everyone speaks, even if not a film student, because all of us, we get so much moving images that from one frame we know that it's a comedy. It's we know the ropes, everyone, instinctively. And here I didn't want to show the ears. I wanted to show Maria and Andrea free. As they are in a way very similar to the cows, to the cattle, which is waiting to be executed in the slaughterhouse. So it is not very funny and comfortable to be a deer. In the winter, it's cold. There is no food. They can hunt you down. Nevertheless, you are fully there in the moment. That's why, I don't know how are you, but millions, including me, are watching cat videos with such a pleasure, because if you watch an animal, you see someone who is fully there. And for us humans, it is a very rare luxury. And this is what they miss. This is why they are, what all of us, I think, miss. So in their dreams, they can become fully present beings. And there we used, beside that, we worked with a wonderful animal coordinator who was not training the deers, because you cannot train a deer. They are just doing what they want. They are not interested like a dog or even a wolf, and several other animals, certain birds also can be trained, but not the deers. So we had to create the ambience, find the location, and make them motivated in different ways, and then wait. So we were there on the hill for days, cameras ready, and waiting for the moments, and being very flexible, and not being impatient, because the animals feel that very well. So it was a wonderful present for the whole team. It was just a very, very small team, because it was like a meditation camp for us. And to have this sort of shameless anthropomorphizing effect, we filmed them the same way you film an interaction, dialogue, for example, between humans in the most plain, simple Hollywood film. So you have over the shoulders, you cut from close up to a wider shot, and of course they never repeat the same movement. So what we did were two cameras really touching each other, very, very close to each other with different lenses. Then in the editing room, you could just cut from inside the movement, which immediately for the spectator means, yeah, I see humans. This is how I used to see humans. So without interfering in the environment, our goal was to have this feeling that now we are with Andrea and Maria. Also, for the over the shoulders, we just had a green frame, but we shot it also there in the woods in the same light, and then we just composed it because that's also a thing you can't really have, and you should spend, I don't know, 2 years with the deers in the wood. And of course, for that we needed this guy who deeply knew how they react, what is their reality, how they perceive the world, and gave us many ideas. I know that after the film, there is a very, very long running, and we have a parallel traveling when the stag, the old stag, is running. It's incredible, by the way, their speed. And our visual effect team, after the film, got an offer from the US that they want the same 3D deers what we had, because nobody believed that it was a real traveling, and it was real, and with very simple tricks, because these people knew deeply how a deer is reacting, and how differently, for example, a male and a female, they reacted.
So in total, 2 cameras for that shoot?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
In an interview, you mentioned that usually
Can you
when
be
writing...
a bit more loud?
Yes, of course, sorry. In an interview, you mentioned that when writing a script, you don't like to use elements from your own life. So in this way, you can keep distance between the story and also the characters. But still, in your movies, I feel like you have a very strong, also intellectual, but also emotional connection with these people. And I'm really curious, like, what is the process behind that have this deep level of understanding, even though you haven't been through the same things as they are?
It's very interesting. I think some of you are already, if anyone made any small film or wrote a short story or whatever, you know that when you enter in that world, somehow very surprising gates of empathy open up in you, and you know about a state, a territory, something much more than you should normally supposed to do. One person before asked me about the story of my wife, which is, I wrote the script, but it's based on a novel. And the novelist who never ever set foot on a cargo boat wrote a script about a cargo sea captain in the 20s, in the 1920s, in international waters. And I spoke with seamen and in Hamburg and in many experts, and it's shocking how exact he was, because it is very interesting. It's this film is very much a Jungian film, so somehow it shows how we can tap into this so-called common unconscious, what we share and what we are in our conscious everyday little life are isolated from, but it works and it orients us and influences us, influences what we do, what we decide, and then we can find some random illogical reasons for that, why I did this and that. So somehow to get closer to this sort of common unconscious, I think it's a good thing. And when you create something, even the smallest thing, it gets closer. So that's why it's so good that you are in this school and you are working on this, because then parallelly you are working on yourself, because it happens if you really start to work with passion on anything. And please.
Just a very small question. Why did you choose deers? Why did you choose deers?
Because of the slaughterhouse. They are the closest free cousins, let's say, of the cattle. And why I chose the slaughterhouse, it's I very often feel pushed around like a cattle, and I don't like it. And I think we, with rules and I don't speak now about the random cruelty of the slaughterhouse. I speak about now the orderly functioning, the normal functioning of the slaughterhouse. I think it is quite inhuman, but we just figured out for us like way of life. The way babies are born, the way we say goodbye to the dying in a hospital, if ever we get the chance. I think it's not by chance that many of us are neurotic, not because we are not okay. I think it's the word is not okay. So that's why.
What
Yes, please.
Okay. I'm glad you mentioned about production design. I want to find out how important is creating the look for your films in terms of production design. Like I want to know how, what value you place on the role of the designer, because most times when filmmakers talk, they talk about the cinematographer, etc. They forget the production design. So I want to know the value you place on production design. Yes.
I have this wonderful partner, Imola, and I try to find, I don't have the time code because I didn't think about it to show, but I try to show something and then I tell you the story of, it's the story of a lamp, okay? Sorry, I try to be quick. Just here, I just can't. And that's another lamp, that's also important.
Nem tudok mással élni már.
Maria really wants to open up, but doesn't know how to. And without wanting, he really hurt Andrea because she's shy and because she's introverted, and went to her childhood psychologist for advice how to get more relaxed. And one of the advices of the psychologist was to listen music, because music touches really the instincts. So she's a very pragmatic lady, and she goes and buys some music and then listens to it, okay?
Szerelmes zenét.
Oh, yeah, here. Okay. But it says exit.
Go back to the image.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now here you have a green.
It's very strange. Who can help me?
André, conseguimos aqui pôr ecrã inteiro? The green, please. Green. No, the green.
Yeah. Just.
Circle. It's the green, I'm sure.
Okay. I just have to. You see, I feel like Maria.
Yeah.
And now.
Green, you have to go up maybe. En na bola verde não é no sinal verde. Não. Sim, faz tudo.
Oh fuck. What is this?
Andrea will help you.
Okay.
I think it's the green is there. It's the green.
Yeah. Okay.
But
I think it's not possible because some Vimeo screeners don't have the full
But
screen.
we just had it a minute ago.
We had it before, yes.
Yeah.
Can I try again? Something. Andrea will try Ildikó. Let me check. Intuitively.
Hmm?
Let me check here. Intuitively. No.
Okay.
But I need to.
I think I know. Yes.
Okay, double click.
Ah, thank you.
Szerelmes zenét. Mit? Szerelmeseknek való zenét.
És ezek közül nem tetszik egyik sem? Figyelj. Megmutatom az én kedvenc.
Whatever.
Ha szeretnéd. Meghallgatod?
Nem. Megveszem.
Forgive me, here I cannot stay. He cut out my tongue, there is nothing to say. Love me, oh Lord, He threw me away. He laughed at my sins, in His arms I must stay. He wrote, I'm broke, please send for me. But I'm broken too and spoken for.
Okay. Until the end of the film, we don't create the whole. Whole song. Yeah, the lamp. I remember when Imola morning arrived, really, really glad, and bringing this lamp and saying, I found her lamp. It's blood red, that's one thing, but somehow it shows how deeply she was connected to Maria, and how thankful I was when I was in this space what she created, that everything in a not dogmatic, not over-explaining way was speaking about this person. And then we spoke about Story of My Wife, which is a period piece in the 20s. She, in a much more hidden way, created for Léa Seydoux a Paris environment, which was really like a sort of magic code for her, expressed so much about her. And then for the male protagonist, a Hamburg home, very complex and a dramatic space. And the funny thing is that you see, I'm not very tall. She's a very, very tall girl, very, very shy. At the same time, she's great with all. A production designer is working with a really great, huge crew and all sorts of workers, and she always gets that very special little plus from these workers, what they add. So somehow she is very good, even if on the surface she's a very shy girl, to make them passionate about their work. So I hope I will continue to work with her and only with her. It's time yet? No, we have a bit of time, bit more time together.
Last question, maybe, because we have a screening at 4:30. It's now or never.
Oh, 4:30. Oh, then we should really finish to
yeah,
to
1
have
2
a
minutes for a
tea
last
break.
question. No? Yes, last one.
You mentioned about the 35mm stock that you used for On Body and Soul. I was just wondering how about you, like what's the process in terms, because you said it was quite hard to get it from Kodak. So if you were involved in that like quite a bit, I was wondering like, did they have to make it especially for you? Like what?
I just haven't heard well the beginning.
The film stock for On Body and Soul. You said it was quite hard to get.
Oh no. On Body and Soul, it was digital.
Oh.
It was digital, and with a reason, because I wanted this crispness, this a bit uncomfortable sharpness of the digital. So it's not just digital, it is a certain way of using the digital. And it's this film, what is coming now, where we had this black and white material, especially made by Kodak for us. And I'm finishing now a film where we use 60 millimeters and 35 and digital, also for a purpose. Okay, guys, I think you need a bit of fresh air before the film.
Thank you, Ildikó and Enyedi.
Thank you very
Salve de
much.
palmas, ovation for Ildikó.